Imagine this. A creature, no wings at all,
Mhm.
but it's soaring through the air, traveling hundreds, maybe thousands of miles. And get this, it's not just riding the wind. It might be using electricity, like the actual electricity in the air around us.
Hmm.
Is that sci-fi? Or is it real? You might have heard some chatter about this, maybe on the podcast de Philippe, this idea that spiders can launch themselves using silk, wind, and atmospheric electricity.
Right.
So today we're diving deep. We want to verify, is this a genuine scientific fact, or is it more of a legend?
It's a great question.
Welcome to the deep dive. We take stuff you're curious about, and we really explore it. Our mission today, unpack all the fascinating details behind this, well, pretty astounding natural phenomena.
And it's a question that's been around for a surprisingly long time. This mystery of quote-unquote flying spiders, it goes back centuries.
Really? How far back?
Well, at least to the early 19th century. One of the most famous encounters involved Charles Darwin. Yeah, Charles Darwin back in 1832 on the HMS Beagle.
Darwin. Wow. Okay, the icon of scientific exploration himself. What did he see that was so baffling?
He was apparently just amazed. Thousands of these tiny red spiders just appeared on his ship. And the really stunning part, they were 60 miles offshore.
60 miles.
Yeah.
Out at sea, with no land nearby.
Yeah.
And suddenly, spiders.
Exactly. Tiny wingless creatures.
Yeah.
Just showing up. He even wrote about it. You know how the ship's rigging was all coated with this gossamer web?
Huh. That must have really thrown out. I mean, it completely upends what you'd think is possible for a spider. It definitely sparked something, right? A curiosity that's lasted almost 2 centuries.
Precisely. What Darwin saw and what scientists have studied since is this phenomenon we call ballooning, or sometimes kiting.
Ballooning, okay.
It's actually a really clever method. These spiders, and some other little invertebrates too, they release these super fine threads of silk, gossamer threads, and they basically use them to catch the air currents and become airborne.
Like tiny living kites. So who does this? Is it just the little baby spiderlings you sometimes see floating around? Or do bigger spiders do it too?
Good question. It is mainly spiderlings doing it for dispersal. You know, spreading out, finding new places, avoiding competition. It's a crucial survival strategy for them.
Makes sense.
But surprisingly, yeah, larger adult spiders have definitely been seen doing it. There are these social spiders, Stygodiphus species. They can get pretty big, like over 100 milligrams, maybe 14 millimeters long. And they've been seen ballooning even on hot days with no wind.
Wow, 100 milligrams. That's way bigger than I'd picture taking flight. How do they manage that?
They release hundreds of silk strands, forming this kind of triangular sheet, sometimes up to a meter long.
A meter-long silk sail. And the distances, they're just as incredible, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely staggering. Journeys can be anything from a few meters, across a garden, to hundreds or even thousands of kilometers.
Thousands. Seriously. A tiny spider crossing countries.
Think about it. They've found spiders way up high, like 5 kilometers, that's about 3 miles above sea level, higher than clouds sometimes.
Goodness.
And they've been found over 1,600 kilometers, 1,000 miles out at sea, which explains how they manage to colonize really remote islands and mountaintops. Some spiderlings can even survive like 25 days without food up in the jet streams.
25 days. That's resilience. It really changes how you think about them as colonizers. I remember reading about a study way back in the 20s and 30s that found something wild about how many spiders are actually up there.
Yeah, that was a landmark study. 1926 to 1931. They used aircraft with insect traps, flew over 1,300 flights.
And the results?
Eye-opening. Basically, 1 out of every 17 invertebrates they caught way up there was a spider.
1 in 17.
Yep. Out of almost 29,000 specimens, over 1,400 were spiders. So the ballooning, it's happening all the time, way more than we probably realize down here.
And sometimes we do realize it in a very noticeable way, those mass ballooning events.
Oh, definitely. Like in Australia, 2012 and 2015, millions of spiders taking off at once. People described the ground looking like it was covered in snow, but it was all silk.
That sounds surreal. What triggers something like that?
Often it's really high spider numbers, or maybe a sudden change like food running short. It basically forces huge numbers of them to disperse all at the same time. Quite a sight. A bit eerie, maybe, but amazing.
Okay, so we know they do it. We know they travel incredible distances. But the big question is how? Without wings. For ages, the theory was just wind, right? They just catch a breeze.
That was the standard explanation, yeah. Until maybe, around 2005 or so, the thinking was purely mechanical. Release silk, wind lifts it, off you go. Simple aerodynamics, basically.
But that didn't quite add up, did it? There were holes in that theory. Like, How could spiders take off when there was barely any wind, or travel so far on just gentle breezes it felt like something was missing?
Exactly. Those were the nagging questions. How do you explain takeoff on a dead calm day? It suggested there had to be, well, some other force involved.
And that's where the electricity comes in.
That's where the breakthrough came. This really pivotal research in 2018 from Erica Morley and Daniel Robert at the University of Bristol. Their work confirmed it. The Earth's natural electric field, the atmospheric potential gradient, it plays a huge role.
Whoa. Okay, so not just wind. There's this invisible electrical lift helping them out that changes everything about how we think flight works in nature, doesn't it?
It really does.
How strong is this field? And how on earth does a tiny spider even detect it?
Well, the air itself carries a voltage. Even on a clear day, it's roughly 100 volts for every meter you go up from the ground, and that creates an electrostatic force.
Yeah.
As for detecting it, that's maybe even more amazing. Spiders have these incredibly fine sensory hairs on their legs and feet. They're called trichobothria.
Trichobothria, got it.
And these hairs literally move in response to weak electric fields. Like, you know how static electricity makes your own hair stand on end? It's a similar principle, but much, much more sensitive. When those hairs move, it signals the spider, okay, conditions are right, and that triggers the ballooning behavior. It's like a tiny built-in electric field detector, a real spidey sense.
That is incredible. And they proved this, like, in a lab. Took wind out of the equation entirely.
They did. It was a really neat experiment. They put the spiders in a special box, a Faraday cage, which blocked all external electric fields. No air currents inside either.
Okay, total isolation.
Right. Then they generated an artificial electric field inside the box, mimicking the natural atmospheric conditions. Huh? And what happened? The spiders started doing their pre-flight routine, that little tiptoe stance, abdomen pointing up.
Just from the electricity?
Just from the electricity. And in some cases, they actually lifted off and soared inside the box, no wind at all.
Wow.
And the clincher. The researchers could literally make a spider float up or down just by turning the electric field on and off.
You're kidding. They could control its flight with a switch.
Essentially, yes. It was definitive proof. Electrostatic forces alone are enough to get them airborne. Wind obviously helps, gives them direction and more lift, but the electric field can provide that initial launch pad.
That is mind-blowing. So spiders join bees as, like, the only arthropods we know for sure that sense and actively use electric fields.
As far as we know, yes. For movement and navigation like this, it's just a stunning example of how life adapts and uses forces we barely even notice.
It really is. And it's not just a cool spider fact, right? This has bigger implications.
Absolutely. Understanding this opens up new ways to think about how animals navigate generally. And it's even sparking ideas for human technology.
And I've heard some amazing firsthand stories that really make this feel real, you know?
Oh, yeah? Like what?
Well, someone mentioned being in Hawaii during what they called a spider bloom. They thought a volcano had erupted because it looked like ash falling everywhere.
Oh.
But then they realized it wasn't ash. It was hundreds, maybe thousands of tiny spiders parachuting down on their silk threads.
That must have been quite a moment. I heard another one, someone seeing tiny spiders just hatching indoors and floating down from the ceiling. A bit unsettling, maybe?
Yeah, maybe a little. And others described seeing the air itself just shimmering, filled with these silk strands and tiny spiders drifting by like natural kites. It sounds both beautiful and slightly creepy, if you don't know what it is.
For sure. These stories really hammer home the scale it can happen on. And ecologically, knowing this is pretty important, spiders eat a lot of insects.
Right, they're major predators.
So their ability to spread out so widely using wind and electricity, it impacts whole ecosystems. Understanding ballooning helps predict these mass events, which can affect insect populations, including pests in agriculture. So they're actually doing us a favor in some ways.
That's a really good point. And this natural tech, it's inspiring our own inventions, right? Biomimicry.
Definitely. Several cool areas. One is trying to make artificial spider silk. That stuff is incredibly strong for its weight, flexible, biodegradable. It's like a miracle material.
For what kind of things?
Oh, advanced fabrics, maybe medical implants that are strong but body-friendly, maybe even things like fiber optics. The potential is huge if we can replicate it properly.
Okay, mimicking the material. What about mimicking the flight itself?
Yeah, that too. The whole ballooning idea is directly inspiring tiny airborne sensors. There's a project called SpiderSond.
Sensors, like radiosonde.
Kind of, yeah. Using these ultralight structures with filaments inspired by the silk to carry tiny sensors up into the atmosphere. Maybe for weather data in places hard to reach with normal drones, perhaps even flying into things like tropical cyclones to gather data passively.
Wow, using the atmosphere's own forces to deploy sensors, that's clever. And given the electricity angle, what about like electrostatically powered flight for bigger things? Is that being looked at?
It's definitely an area of interest, but still very early days. We know the principle works for spiders and there's silk in the lab, but using electrostatic propulsion directly for, say, larger drones or aerial robots, that's still mostly theoretical, maybe some small-scale experiments.
It's still emerging.
Very much so. But the idea that you could have silent, potentially very energy-efficient flight using these natural fields, it's a really exciting prospect down the line.
So wrapping this up, the idea of spiders flying, it's absolutely not a legend. It's real science, and it's even more amazing than we thought, involving both wind and the Earth's hidden electric power.
Exactly. It makes them incredible colonizers, vital ecosystem players, just remarkable.
And it kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it, what other invisible forces of nature are out there shaping life in ways we haven't even discovered yet?
Makes you think.
Well, if you found this deep dive as fascinating as we did, maybe share it with a friend who loves digging into surprising science. And hey, if you enjoy explorations like this, you can really help us out by sharing our related show, Le Podcast de Philippe, with your friends and family. We're trying to reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers, and every share helps a lot. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.